Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, Mataji, it's visible.
All right, nice. So, once more, welcoming all of you who have made it today. Once more, the day 2, but this is the chapter 1. Yesterday was just an orientation. Right at the beginning, I have Athar with a question or something to share. What is this, Athar? You can unmute and please go ahead.
Can you give me 2 minutes? I can blow the flute. I learned flute. I will play flute.
Right. You can do an introductory flute, few lines for us. Sure.
Yes.
So Athar is a little grade 8 student and he's doing the Gita for the first time. It's amazing that he wants to do it. And so, yes, Athar, you can say an introduction.
So, yeah, I'm audible?
Yes, very much.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, nice. Thank you so much. It was a little, but still we could hear a little bit here and there. That's very nice. Thank you. It was nice to see you also. So before we move on, thank you, Athar. Let's pay obeisance to the beautiful deities of Sri Sri Radha Govinda temple in ISKCON, Mangalore. These deities are the ones who have inspired Namisha Das Prabhu to begin this beautiful online free Bhagavad Gita course. And all of us from different parts of India and the world are here together because of these deities. This 18-day course has been going on since April 2020. It's located in Mangalore, in this place, in Karnataka, in Coconut Garden Road. The temple president is His Grace Namisha Das Prabhu, who's a B.Tech in IIT Kanpur, done from IIT Kanpur. And he has dedicated his life to spread the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And he's presently working on constructing a college for the Gita. But as you know, in today's society of Kali Yuga, the governments are not able to promote very well. So getting the university kind of affiliation and all are tough. But anyone who wants to study Gita will be able to go and study at Mangalore. He's constructing a college there. And that's a beautiful service he's doing to Krishna and to all of us. So let's quickly do a prayer before we begin. And I would like to thank Aishwarya Mataji, my Shiksha Guru, Rashmi Mataji, and everyone who has given me this knowledge. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. So once more, all glories to Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, and the Temple President Namshadas. So once more, we are just revising the 5 main topics which we will be studying. So I would like all of you to recollect what are the topics. The most important topic that the Bhagavad Gita covers is that we are the soul or the Atma and that we are not the body. That is the most important thing to realize, which is very difficult. I'm still realizing that. It's a tough thing to realize. And then we have to realize that we are trapped within this material world. And this is not really our home. We are trapped here, and we will understand the reasons for it as we go. And next, we understand that the whole dynamics of karma. It is a very complex topic. At the same time, it very clearly and very in understandable language, Krishna has explained karma to us in so many chapters. Kala is another very exciting, impressive, mysterious topic where Krishna declares that he is Kala in the material world. And we understand Kala. We get a good understanding of Kala as we read the Bhagavad Gita. Finally, the most important is we understand who is God. We understand who is Ishvara. We understand our connection with him. And Krishna explains in detail in the Bhagavad Gita. Can you imagine Krishna coming? And it's a love letter. The whole Bhagavad Gita is a love letter for all of us. And we are so fortunate that we are able to now sit and read Krishna. Only those who are graced by Krishna can have the opportunity to read this beautiful letter where Krishna explains everything in detail about himself. And so anybody who wants to know about Krishna just needs to read the Gita. And the next step would be to read the Srimad Bhagavatam once you're done with the Gita. In fact, the study of Gita never ends. It's a lifetime study. And I will never tire enough describing Srila Prabhupada because it's very important that we accept and acknowledge the Guru because without the Guru, we will never get Krishna. And therefore, actually Krishna is, he passes down to us because Krishna cannot be seen by us with our material body and our material senses. Krishna is transcendental and he will make himself visible only when we are ready for it. And so we come to know about Krishna through the Guru. And so the Guru is a representative of Krishna himself because Krishna transmits everything about him through the Guru. The Bhagavad Gita itself is also Krishna himself. It's like Krishna there sitting and talking to us through the Gita. So we need to really acknowledge the Guru. Without doing that, the knowledge will not be transmitted. So in this picture, we can see Srila Prabhupada conducting a Ratha Yatra in the US. And so the reason why, like I told you yesterday, he did that was because his spiritual master said that he's good at English and he realized that the Bhagavad Gita will become much more popular once the Americans will accept. So you would know about the pizza. Pizza is so famous today, right? So pizza is actually an Italian food, but nobody valued it initially. In Italy, nobody really bothered or thought highly about the pizza. But when the Americans, started, talking about the pizza, the whole world started, looking at pizza as something wonderful. So while the Bhagavad Gita is in India, we Indians don't really, value the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, Krishna, I already know. Bhagavad Gita, we have it at home. And so you don't value the message. But when, Srila Prabhupada went and spread it in the Western world, and when people all over the world started chanting the Hare Krishna and they started doing Sankirtan movement, that is when people woke up and started noticing what is this really, what is this mantra? How are people so joyfully all the time chanting? What is it that they are knowing? What is behind this? People get curious. And the Bhagavad Gita, as it is with the true knowledge, started coming quite after Srila Prabhupada brought it because he is Jagat Guru, and he in fact in the scriptures itself we can see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had come 500 years ago, and he wanted to spread the simple message that in Kali Yuga we should chant, and Srila Prabhupada took that up. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said that, there will be a warrior who will help spread this message of Sankirtan movement and the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad. So it's all already kind of destined. So Srila Prabhupada was destined to be the Jagat Guru, and he was born. Therefore, as you can see in this first picture, he's a little 5-year-old boy. And even as a small boy, his father wanted him to be a great devotee, and they would sit and do bhajans together. And when Srila Prabhupada expressed the desire to have a little, this Ratha Yatra, at the age of 5, he made that little cart for him, and the whole family would make prasadam, and they would take this cart with the deities all around the area, and he was totally into Krishna consciousness from a very small age. As you can see, he's blessed. So he was already a devotee at a young age. Here in this picture, you can see him around the age of 26. He met his, spiritual guru Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati when he was around 26. And it was around when he was about the age of 36 or 40 that his guru told him that he should go to the Western world. But at that time, he was already married and he had children. He was running a pharmaceutical industry. And he found it very difficult to take that. He knew that he should do it somehow, but at that point of time, it was difficult for him to just leave everything and take up sannyas. Here in this picture, we can see how he was, trying to preach in India, and in India, it was not very successful because, like I told you, for Indians, oh, I know Krishna, I know Bhagavad Gita. They don't understand what is a real priceless message which he's trying to share. And then here we can see how he tried his best in spite of having hardly any money because his business was not going well. It was all a plan of Krishna actually to put him through so much difficulty. And because otherwise, he's blessed, and without Krishna's grace, he couldn't have achieved so much of success. But all the difficulty he went through was also
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Anuradha Mataji.
Yeah. There is one Mohammed who has joined this class. Unnecessarily is putting all different chats. So you can just tell him not to. I don't know. He's writing all sort of things, unnecessary things in the chat. So if he is not interested, he can leave the class. One Mohammed.
Okay, 1 minute.
You can just tell him to leave the class if he is not interested.
Yeah, who is this? Because you were disturbing everybody else in the class. Do I remove you, or what is the name? You're a co-host, Mataji. You can do that.
Yes, Mataji.
Chitra Mataji, you can take him out, or you can tell him to leave the class. Yes.
Have you all been asked to share your numbers? Because I can say everybody
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Yes, Shubhra Mataji has told everyone to put their names and contact numbers in the chat so that it is easy to track the attendance.
Okay. Sure. Right. Pradyumna is the one who's disturbing, huh?
No, I think he has left.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, coming back to, we're just quickly discussing Srila Prabhupada's life before we move to chapter 1. I think it's very essential because, like I told you, we need to understand why we know this Gita in the first place. He traveled to the US with just 40 rupees in his hand. And in the ship, he also managed to sell his first copy of Srimad Bhagavatam to the captain of the ship. And that's all the money he had. And he had just the name, the power of the name with him. It was just by the power of the name that he went to the US, and the strong belief that when the Guru has asked me to spread the message in the West, I have to do it, and he will bless me to do it. So that was his strong faith. And when he was there, he would just sit in the parks and he would sit and chant. And then, the Westerners would come and ask him, what are you chanting? And they would ask him some questions. And they would be amazed to see the knowledge that he has about the soul and about spirituality. And they would be so keen and interested and ask him so many questions. And he got all these hippies gradually converted. It was just on the power of his faith and the name that he did it. So these are the books that he has written. He has written so many books. He has translated so many books. His magazine, Back to Godhead, is also started by him. Yesterday we had stopped here, so let's listen.
Mom?
Let's see how Srila Prabhupada traveled, 14 around the world, and he finished his age. Like he went at 69 to the US, and he died at the age of 81. And in these 12 years, he traveled around the world 14 times and established 100 temples. So we just will take a look at this video.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Devi Shesha Shunyavadi Bhakti Jnane Shatarine.
You can see how amazing that is. So Bhagavad Gita is an epic scripture that has the answers to all our problems, provided we are patient enough and provided we, really give all our focus to listening, because the knowledge comes only through the process of listening. And it was considered spiritual dictionary by Mahatma Gandhi, and it is a book of inspiration for many leaders on the planet. So yesterday we read about how Gandhiji said that whenever we meditate on the Gita, we derive a lot of fresh joy and new meanings every day, which is so true. And Albert Einstein said, when I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems superfluous. So once you start getting this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, you will find that everything else, is so, unimportant. It's the knowledge of Krishna, knowing who he is. And that will just take up your entire thinking, and you'll be so happily absorbed in this knowledge. It is very important to understand the Bhagavad Gita from the right source. Suppose you have a phone and you have a broken cable, right?
क्यों नहीं हो रही पढ़ाई? एग्जाम बगल में
it cannot be used for proper data transfer either. So why is this? Because of a lack of contact between the source and the receiver. So similarly, the message of Krishna has to come by an unbroken chain of disciplic succession. If it is not coming in the disciplic succession, and we have people who are randomly just concluding random things, then you will not get the true purport, and it will be quite futile. It will be, in fact, useless. That's why it's advisable to always approach the Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master. We are fortunate that the Jagat Guru Prabhupada has given us this Bhagavad Gita with a true purport. It is coming straight from Krishna, and we have the whole disciplic succession, which we will discuss once more in chapter 4. Krishna gave this knowledge it appeared in the heart of Brahma, of this material universe. And then Brahma passes it on to his son Narada. You can see in this picture. And then there are a whole series of so many gurus, and at last it has come to us. So Gita is a very vast book. A systematic study of the Gita will actually take about a year and 80 days we can't do. So like I told you, we will just go through the flow of thoughts. So let's begin. The Bhagavad Gita, as you know, is spoken by Krishna, the Lord himself. It is a Vedic wisdom which has been passed by oral reception from generation to generation. Until now, it is written at last. It was only, by reception, by oral reception, that it was passed down the ages. In those days, the people had a lot more intelligence. Just by listening once, they could exactly recite every word, whatever they've heard. They were so, sharp in their memory. And nowadays in Kali Yuga, as already been mentioned in the scriptures, do not have so much sharp intelligence or memory. And therefore, we have Srila Vyasadeva, who's also a kind of an avatar, Shakti avatar of Lord. He was empowered by.
अगर यार छूट कैसे गया पढ़ा तो यहाँ बैठ के तुम्हारा छूट कैसे जा रहा है मैं सीरियस हो जाऊंगा डांट दूंगा बहुत कस के तुम्हारा छूट कैसे रहा है यार क्लास बैच के अंदर डिटेल में इतना कंटेंट पढ़ाते तुम्हारा छूट कैसे जा रहा है क्या मस्कारी करूंगा छूट कैसे रहा है सिलेबस यहाँ घर बैठ
Can you just mute whoever that is? So the Bhagavad Gita has a total of 18 chapters. All the chapters are, are some kind of yoga. As you can see, the first one is Arjuna Vishada Yoga, chapter 1. Today we are doing Arjuna Vishada Yoga. You may wonder how, Arjuna's sadness can be a yoga. Yes, it can be a yoga. Sometimes when we are depressed and dejected and we seek union with Krishna, then, that is Vishada Yoga through our depression and through our sad or difficult or transitional phases. We reach out and then, there is a union with the Lord. There is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Then there is Sankhya Yoga, which is talking about the discrimination between what is material and what is spiritual. And then we have in chapter 3, Karma Yoga, chapter 4, Jnana Yoga, and chapter 5, Sannyasa Yoga, which is Yoga of Renunciation, and chapter 6, Jnana Yoga. These first 6 chapters are pertaining to karma. And then the Yoga of Wisdom, which is Vijnana Yoga, then Taraka Brahma Yoga, Raja Vidya, Raja Gugya Yoga, Vibhuti Yoga, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. All these come under the category of Bhakti. This is the most secret knowledge which doesn't come to all. You are very fortunate to be listening to all these chapters in the upcoming days. These are called the Bhakti chapters. Then from chapter 13 onwards, we have the Prakriti Purusha Viveka Yoga, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, Purushottam Yoga, Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga, and Moksha Yoga. All these will be the chapters which are dealing with Jnana. And what is the mood of the Bhagavad Gita? We all need to come into the mood which Arjuna had so that we can actually understand the Gita. It is impossible to understand the Bhagavad Gita unless we also have the mood that Arjuna had. What was Arjuna's mood? Arjuna's mood in the beginning, when the battle began, the battle of Mahabharata began, he was very bewildered. And, it was like illusion had overtaken him. And all this actually is Krishna's arrangement because Arjuna is otherwise a very highly elevated devotee of the Lord. And so it is Krishna who made this arrangement so that the Bhagavad Gita can be passed on via Arjuna to all of us. If not for Arjuna's confusion and bewilderment, there would be no necessity for Krishna to speak the Bhagavad Gita to rescue him. And although Arjuna is the apparent first listener, it is actually for the benefit of all of us in the Kali Yuga that Krishna gave the Bhagavad Gita via Arjuna. So Arjuna is just a medium. And we need to see, as we read chapter 1 and we come tomorrow when we do chapter 2, verse 11, we will see what is the exact mood of Arjuna when he surrenders. And that mood of surrender must be there. Otherwise, the knowledge will not seep. With a closed brain, shut out with a shut door, no knowledge will enter. Unless you are submissive and you surrender in that listening mode, you listen completely attentively. Your listening is at the highest level of attentiveness, knowledge will not enter your understanding. So Arjuna's indecisiveness is one of the major points for the Gita to be spoken. Krishna, when Arjuna is undecided, Krishna, he's not sure that he wants to fight the battle. He wants to see everyone. Krishna drives a chariot in the middle of both the armies. And Arjuna is in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Why? Because he sees, all his near and dear ones on the opposite side. And he's you'll see in the later verses how he's completely exhibiting the symptoms of someone who is in grave depression or anxiety, who is extremely mentally broken down. And that is very common today. We find a lot of people going through extreme stress and the similar body symptoms where you just become, helpless. You don't know what to do. And at that time, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken to Arjuna. So every journey begins with a step. Today, as on 3rd June at 9:25, we are beginning this journey into this understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So let's start. Already Mataji has sung the Bhagavad Gita, the glorification. This is one of the verses from that. Sarvotrishido Gavo Durga Gopala Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhira Bhokta Dugam Gita Mahal. So this means that basically the cow is a representation of all the Upanishads, which are, accumulation of all the Vedas. And all the Vedas behind it, they will all represented as a cow. The milker, what does Krishna do? Nihal, Nihal Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So we need to understand that this Gita is just not normal. It is a summary of the nectar of all the Vedas and Upanishads. And Krishna is milking that particular cow, which is a representation of all the Vedas. And when does a cow start, producing so much milk? When the calf is there beside the cow, right? So Arjuna is that calf who's motivating, bringing out the whole nectar. And who are all of us?
मुझे रोनाल्डो बनना है। आओ मैं तुम्हें बनाऊं रोनाल्डो। इतना मार पड़ेगा, इतना मार पड़ेगा, इतना मार पड़ेगा कि तुम रो के भाग जाओगे। रहने तो बोले लग जाओगे। अब तो रोनाल्डो 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 बोल रहे हो।
Ma'am, please mute everyone.
हाँ, मेसी को मेसी बनना है यहाँ पर। मेसी।
Shall I mute everyone?
Yes, ma'am, please mute everyone.
If you have any questions, you can please raise your hand. How do I mute everyone exactly? Mute all. Okay. I'm very sorry to do that, but please raise your hand if you I love participants to unmute if you want.
Ma'am, you are muted.
Thank you. All right.
Am I audible now? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So we are going to look at the reactions before we begin the Bhagavad Gita. We need to look at the reactions of 3 people. One is Dhritarashtra, as you can see on top. And the second is going to be Duryodhana, which is there below. And the third is Arjuna. In the Gita, we will be learning about 3 modes, which is called Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. Tamogun is basically, when a person is in ignorance and darkness, he refuses to allow knowledge to enter his brain, then he is in Tamogun. Dhritarashtra, the father of all the Kaurava brothers, is in Tamogun. Why is he in Tamogun? Because he refuses to accept the knowledge which is being given to him by his own brother Vidura, and he is refusing to open his eyes and see that Krishna is God, although in his heart he knows it. He is totally attached to his sons, and all he wants is to, just go by the whims of his sons who want to enjoy the Hastinapura, the whole land, the kingdom, which actually doesn't belong to him as per the rules of those days. Duryodhana is on the other hand in Rajogun, which is called the mode of passion. He is very ambitious and greedy and lusty for the kingdom and the pleasures which come along with that. And so he is kind of ready to do anything to hold on to the kingdom. And he is also one of the chief reasons why his father is, forced to stay in Tamogun. And on the other hand, we can see here Arjuna. Arjuna is in Sattvagun, which is the mode of goodness. In this mode, you have all these different, you feel compassionate, you try to think what is true, what is good, and you reach out for the guru, right? So all these emotions which Arjuna is going through is that of one who is in Sattvagun, or the mode of goodness. Now we will see something called Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, later on. in the future chapters, and that's so. With that, we move on to the. So we have seen how the reactions are. This is again about the Bhagavad Gita, that we must understand it, not in isolation. Shankaracharya described Gita as a river of nectar. And we are going to see the history of Mahabharata quickly before we move on to the Gita, because Gita is a text which is in the Mahabharata, the grand epic of India. And it all starts because of Arjuna's denial of war, and when the Lord speaks the Gita out of compassion for all of us. So let's quickly look at the background of why the Mahabharata was fought. So on top, we can see Kuru. Kuru is basically the king from whom all of these, different characters are coming. And they are his children and grandchildren and so on. Kuru was a great king who in Kurukshetra had conducted a lot of, yajnas or sacrifices. And so Kurukshetra had become a very holy place. And his son is Shantanu. Shantanu with Ganga had Bhishma. Bhishma is a grandsire of everybody. That is, he's a grandfather sort of figure for everyone. And from Satyavati, he had these two sons. You can see in yellow the sons here, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. However, Chitrangada didn't marry anyone, but Vichitravirya had two wives, Ambika and Ambalika, and he was not able to produce children. So Satyavati, through Parasara, had also Vyasadeva, who is, of course, the writer of the whole Mahabharata and the Gita and all the Vedas. So through him, the children were produced. Dhritarashtra was produced, was from, Dhritarashtra and Pandu were the two brothers. Also Vidura. So these are the three brothers in pink in this line. And Pandu had two wives, Kunti and Madri. Pandu was rightfully supposed to take over the kingdom. However, because he died early, till the time that his sons would grow up, Dhritarashtra was supposed to just...
ये तो टाइम पे साले मारूंगा खींच के वहां जाके गिरेगा
Dhritarashtra was temporarily looking after the kingdom, but he was supposed to, hand over the kingdom to the Pandavas when they grow up. However, like I told you, he was very lusty for the kingdom and he refused to give it. And Dhritarashtra's sons, his eldest son is Duryodhana, and he had 100 sons totally. So other than Duryodhana and Dushasana, he had 98 sons. These were the two main sons, and Dushala was his only daughter. So he had 100 sons and one daughter. They're all referred to as Kauravas, although the Pandus children are also, in the Kuru dynasty. However, Dhritarashtra would kind of be very partial, and he would be calling his children the, Kauravas, and the Pandus children were referred to as Pandavas. And then just looking at who's going to come after that, we have Draupadi, who had children from all of them, but all of those children died in the battlefield because of Ashwathama. And from Subhadra, who is Krishna and Balram, as we know, are brothers, and Subhadra is their sister, and Arjuna married Subhadra, who is their sister of Krishna. Subhadra and Abhimanyu, they had, Subhadra and Abhimanyu, Arjuna and Subhadra had the son Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu with Uttara had a son Parikshit, and Parikshit's son was Janmedya. So just quickly looking at the whole Kuru family. So what do we understand? We understand that Dhritarashtra here was, father of all the Kauravas, and Pandu's children, Pandavas. These were the two cousins who were fighting the whole battle. Arjuna was considered to be the chief warrior among the Pandavas, and he was, one of the key characters in the battlefield. Like I told you, there are three divisions: the Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and the Jnana Yoga chapters. The Bhakti Yoga is the most important. Why? Because it's very secret. And Karma and Jnana are dead without Bhakti. Without Bhakti, there is no use of any other yoga. So generally, we keep something which is very secret in the middle. That is why these Bhakti chapters will be in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita. Just as when a king is traveling, and before him and after him, there are, different people who are moving and they're protecting the king. Similarly, the Bhakti is in the middle. And these are the important different, prominent people on whose writings Srila Prabhupada has referred to for writing his commentary. And there are 700 verses. I already said yesterday about these number of verses. So let's move to the chapters. The first section of the chapter 1 is about the introduction and preparation to the war. Actually, the Gita will begin tomorrow when the whole teaching starts, but yet chapter 1 is very important because it is, it's very important to have a background of before we start off with the teachings in chapter 2. So in the first section of chapter 1, we will see the introduction and preparations of war, which will also teach us many things. And the second section of chapter 1, which we'll be discussing today, we will start looking at Arjuna's doubts. What were the different reasons which Arjuna was, what were the reasons why Arjuna couldn't bring himself to fight? So let us look at the first verse. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandava shaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. It's very important to understand every word, especially this first verse. We can understand so much about Dhritarashtra just by looking at each of these words. Dhritarashtra refers to Kurukshetra, where the battlefield is taking place, as Dharma Kshetra. Why is he adding that adjective? It shows kind of his apprehension that this is a holy battlefield, and he is worried that because it is such a holy place, probably it's causing a transformation in the minds of the warriors, and he actually wanted his sons to fight. Usually, a king would be someone who would want peace and who would do whatever is needed for peace. But in this case, because of his lusty desires and because of his attachment to his son, he wanted the war to happen so that his sons would win over the battle. And Samaveta, so Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yuyutsava, eager to fight, right? So he's saying, Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya what happened in the battle. Who is Sanjaya? Sanjaya is the person who has been gifted with divine vision so that he can relate to the blind king Dhritarashtra whatever is happening in the battlefield. He's sitting in his palace, but he has divine vision which has been gifted in those days, like how we have a television and we can see things happening all over the world. Sanjaya had been gifted the vision for that period of time when he could actually see everything happening in the battlefield, and he would relate it to Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra is asking some who they're all standing in the Dharma Kshetra. Mamaka, here he uses the word Mamaka Pandava Shaiva. He separates his sons as Mamaka, my sons, and Pandavas and the Pandu's children. Kim Akurvata. Kim Akurvata means what are they doing? Oh Sanjaya, right? So what do we see here? We understand many things. Like for example, we can look at the analogy with milk being boiled. Usually we boil milk when there is something auspicious happening. So this is an auspicious place, the Kurukshetra. So this boiling of milk is compared to the auspicious Kurukshetra. And then what is Dhritarashtra doing? He is separating his two sons, that is two groups of cousins, the Pandavas and Kauravas. It is equal. It's compared to how milk is being curdled by adding curd or lemon or something. The milk gets curdled. But then what comes out of it? What comes out of it is the rasgulla. You can make rasgulla out of it. And so the Bhagavad Gita is kind of, the sweet thing which comes out of this whole situation. Also, the rasgulla here, it's stupid to ask someone, what will you do with the rasgulla? Obviously, you will be eating it. So likewise, in the battlefield, what Dhritarashtra asks is quite senseless at that point of time because obviously they're going to fight. But why is he asking that question? It reflects his fear. It reflects his doubt. So usually somebody who is in the wrong, they will have this feeling of emotion of fear and doubt because in the heart of hearts, they all know that they are in the wrong. So here we can see the milk is compared to Dharma Kshetra, and the set using Mamaka and Pandava is compared to the breaking of the milk, which Dhritarashtra has done. And Kim Akurvata, what do you do? Is such a pointless question. Obviously, you eat the rasgulla. So in the battlefield, obviously you will fight. So now the key points in this verse 1 are how to understand the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We saw how Dhritarashtra's fear and his concern regarding Dharma Kshetra and how Dhritarashtra distinguishes Pandavas from the Kurus. This is what we saw. So, and then we can see later on, we're going to be skipping some verses. The detailed ones we'll do in level 2, verse by verse. In the verse third verse, we will see, Sanjay will explain how Duryodhana is saying these words. He says, "Oh, my teachers." We can see Duryodhana is speaking to his Guru Dronacharya. What does he say? He says, "Oh, my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada." The choice of words are, you must really note. In the Bhagavad Gita, every word can be, there's so much we can understand. Like in the earlier verse, we saw how Dhritarashtra was feeling through those by deciphering the meaning behind all those words. Similarly, here we can see that, uh, we can see that Duryodhana, when he's talking to his master, Dronacharya, in this side of the battlefield, in the Kaurava side of the battlefield, he says, "Son of Drupada," he uses the word. Why does he say that? But there's a story behind it. So Drupada is actually, the Drupada is actually an enemy of Dronacharya. All right. And there's a story behind it. I think I'll not go into detailed story, but basically all we need to understand is that Dronacharya, the master, you had an enemy called Drupada, who was a king. They had both studied in the same ashrama as children. And, there was a lot of ego battles and lot of things happened between them. And ultimately, Drupada was, because Dronacharya had used the help of Pandavas and had defeated Drupada. And then he said, "Okay, you can keep the kingdom with you." And so it was quite an insult for Drupada. And so Drupada wanted to take revenge on Dronacharya. And he did a whole special yaga and pujas to get a son who would kill Dronacharya. Now, Dronacharya, knowing that Drishtadyumna's son, Drupada, is going to, Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna is a son of Drupada, is actually born to kill him, in spite of knowing that when Drupada sends his son to the best teacher of those times, Dronacharya accepts him, knowing that this is my enemy's son. So, in this point of the battle, when the whole war is just going to begin, Duryodhana is kind of cruelly reminding his teacher about his enemy and saying that, "Look, your enemy's son has arranged the whole Pandava battle, or the array of the whole warriors is done so well." And how did he manage? Because, Drupada's son Drishtadyumna was at that point of time the person who was arranging the battlefield, so he had done it very well. And Duryodhana, when he, at first sight, when he came to the battlefield, when he saw them arranged so well, he was kind of, again, scared, worried. And so he wanted to push Dronacharya, his master, and kind of taunt him and make him feel bad about it. So that, and kind of telling him that you should not be repeating this mistake. Already by training the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, he has, so well, he has now expertly arranged the whole Pandava army. And and he's an intelligent disciple of yours. So he's kind of warning him, don't continue being so lenient like the way you were earlier. And in his heart, Duryodhana knew that Dronacharya has some soft corner for the Pandavas. At this point of time, he wants to make it very clear, don't continue this this softness and leniency in the battle. On the other hand, you will find Arjuna, before he starts the battlefield, he shoots arrows which go and fall exactly at the feet of Drupada and all his, his grandson and everyone. He pays obeisances and takes their blessings before he starts the battlefield. And then you can see the contrasting behavior of Duryodhana. So this is the attitude of Duryodhana towards his own guru, who is, standing there fighting with him in the battlefield. Get to know in these verses are how Duryodhana is an expert politician and a diplomat. He's referring to Drishtadyumna as son of Drupada, instead of straightaway saying Drishtadyumna, just using the term Drupada to kind of, taunt Dronacharya. And also we have seen already how Drishtadyumna distinguishes between Pandavas and the Kauravas. And then later on, we can see in the verse 1.19, anybody would like to read this verse, 1.19? Chitra Mataji, for anyone. What happens in 1.19? Okay, I'll read it. Saghoshodha Dhritarashtranam Hridayani Vyadarayat Nabhasya prithvim chaiva tumulobhyanunadayan. So here we can see, it's the translation is that given by Srila Prabhupada is that the blowing of these different conches. So what happened thereafter is, after Duryodhana, he points out, the whole how beautifully the Pandava army is arranged to his teacher. Then he talks about, he glorifies both the sides, he glorifies them, and then he realizes, oh my God, I shouldn't be glorifying them so much. The opposite army, my side people will all be depressed and they won't be motivated. So then he starts praising everybody in his side also. And when he goes on praising Bhishma, he says, we should all protect Bhishma. And he goes on and on about it. At last, what happens? Bhishma gets kind of, he wants to motivate Duryodhana because he can see the fear in his heart because of his constant, yapping. And so he blows the conch shell, and then there's a blowing of different conch shells which become uproarious and it vibrates both in the sky and the earth. This is actually after the Pandavas start blowing. So Duryodhana's team blew conch shells in the beginning. It didn't shatter the Pandavas' hearts at all because they were very confident having Krishna on their side, right? So wherever Krishna is, there is dharma. And you take shelter of the Lord, you will have nothing to fear. Whereas, as soon as Krishna blows his conch shell, followed by Arjuna and Bhima and the whole Pandava, all of these major warriors of the Pandava side, when they start blowing the conch shells, the sound is so uproarious because Krishna's conch shell is not even material. I would like all of us to remember that Krishna is God and he's transcendental. His body is transcendental. His blowing of the conch shell, the sound is transcendental. The word transcendental means spiritual, not related to the material world. It is spiritual, it is transcendental. And so it completely shatters the hearts of all the Kauravas because, like I told you, someone who is in the wrong and who's in the adharma, actually in the heart of hearts, they always know clearly that they are in the wrong. And when they hear the sounds, it actually, fills them with fear. So why was the victory of the Pandavas certain from the very beginning? So we're going to look in this, before we move on, we need to understand, the different signs of victory. So whenever something major is going to happen, you will find many signs. And it is very clear in the very, beginning of the battlefield itself, that the Pandavas who are actually the side of dharma, righteousness, they are going to win. Now, what are the reasons? In this beautiful picture, we can see Arjuna, who is with Krishna. Krishna accepts to be the charioteer. There's a story behind that also. But right now, we're not going to that story. So what are the reasons why the Pandavas win? Firstly, the battlefield is where the battle is taking place in the field called Kurukshetra, which is a Dharma Kshetra. And the chariot which Arjuna had is also a divine chariot. It's not a normal chariot. He had been blessed with that. And the Kapi Dhwaja, can you see the flag? The flag had Hanuman. Even in the battle where between Rama and Ravana, we had Hanuman's side winning. Wherever Hanuman's support is there, again, Hanuman is there. And Hanuman actually says, in this battle, I'm going to be screaming and causing thunderous sound whenever the enemies come close from the flag. So he is there on the side. It's a Kapi Dhwaja is another sign of victory. Then the Shankhanada, which we just saw, right? The sound, the transcendental sound of the Pandavas and Krishna, it is again an indication. It clearly showed that a premonition was sound that the Pandavas are going to be the winners of the battle. Also, Gandiva, which is this bow of Arjuna, it's also called the Pashupatastra. That is also, something which is again transcendental and a divine gift given to Arjuna. And that's also an indication that the Pandavas are going to win. And Tyakta Jivita is a very important word which was used by Duryodhana in one of the verses before in chapter 1. He says that, while talking to his Dronacharya and his other people in his side, he says that all these people on my side, they're all ready to give their lives. So by saying that, it's kind of a premonition that they're all going to give up their lives. Tyakta Jivita, he uses the term. There's no need for him to say that. But he says they're all willing to give their lives, and that was kind of negative word. It's like, nowadays, before people marry itself, they make all those signs. When they divorce, they sign all those documents. When they divorce, we're going to have this kind. This is going to be our agreement. Whereas at the time of marriage, you don't need to actually, think of divorce already, right? So the battle has not begun yet, and he's already kind of talking, oh, these people are all going to give their lives for me. It's kind of a premonition again. And then this whole battle happens it starts on a very auspicious day called Mokshada Ekadashi. Ekadashi is very dear to Krishna, and on this day, generally, all good things are done, and everybody is in a devotional mood. So Mokshada Ekadashi is an occasion when it's a very special day dear to Krishna, and therefore the battle begins on the day, again, kind of indicating that the Krishna side or the Pandavas are going to win. Again, another reason why the Pandavas will surely win is because Bhagya Lakshmi is on the side of the Pandavas. Why? Because Krishna is there. Wherever Krishna is there, Krishna and Vishnu are synonymous. So wherever Krishna or Vishnu are there, Lakshmi is there. Lakshmi is all auspiciousness. She is a sign of everything that is Shri, auspicious, or victory. And these are the reasons why it was very evident that the Pandavas are going to win the battle. So this is a background of the battlefield. Arjuna's reasons for not wishing to fight is also clear in this chapter. We're not going through it verse by verse, but these are the reasons. Firstly, you can see Arjuna is terribly depressed. One of the reasons he says why I cannot fight is compassion. In verse 1.28, those who are interested can read through. In verse 1.28, Arjuna says that I am heartbroken to see that I'm having to fight with my near and dear ones, with my Guru, Dronacharya, with my grandsire, Bhishma, and so many relatives and friends and near and dear ones, I am unable to fight. So I'm full of compassion. So he's full of compassion. Krishna will be explaining, giving an answer to all of this. Second reason why Arjuna wishes not to fight is he thinks that anyway I'm not going to enjoy. Even if I win, I'm not going to enjoy. It's not going to be fun. Because all my relatives are no more. Usually after something great you win, then you want to celebrate with all your relatives. And when all of them are not going to be there anymore, I'm not going to be happy about it. And he says, even if I lose, it's not going to be enjoyment. So here he's kind of, he's at the material level. And like I told you, all this is happening by Krishna's arrangement. So he's feeling all these things. And then he talks about sin. He says, after all, killing your own relatives for simply getting the kingdom is a sin. And he says, and Krishna will answer that also very beautifully in the very next chapter. In chapter 2, we will see answers to all this. And then Arjuna says that family traditions will be broken, especially when so many men are no more after the battle. There are going to be, all these traditions where the sons do the, different rites for the fathers, and so many other traditions are going to be broken. And I don't want to do that. So I don't want to fight. And then in tomorrow's chapter 2, you will find when he will, express his complete indecision. He says, I'm not able to decide exactly. Again, that's because in his heart, he knows it's his duty to fight. And yet, due to so many other reasons, he expresses that he cannot fight. So which of these can you relate to? Can you all relate to this? Are you all able to understand why Arjuna doesn't want to fight? You can unmute and share. And which of these can you relate to? Can we have you put it in the chat? What are the reasons you think that, you feel you can relate to? Is the attendance link posted, Madhavi? So someone is asking for attendance link. Post the attendance link. Compassion, says Sahil Shah. Thank you so much for that answer. Yes, compassion, you can relate. We can understand why Arjuna is feeling compassionate. Indecision, says Vinod Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yes, you feel undecided. Family tradition will be broken, says Lavanya. So we can relate to all of these actually, we can really understand why Arjuna is feeling that, I don't want to fight. Each of these you can find, each of you are giving different answers, and we can see that all these reasons seem to be very valid. But we will see in the upcoming chapters, especially in chapter 2 itself, Krishna will give an answer to each of this very, categorically he'll be able to explain, and Arjuna will be very much convinced. So what are Arjuna's doubts? And in these verses, we saw how Arjuna's doubts, his minds are reeling about. in this battle, how it will finish his family, the family traditions, there'll be sinful reactions, and he feels it's better to be killed unarmed than to fight. This is the height of Sattva. He says, I don't mind being killed by my enemy, but I don't want to fight. And Arjuna's mind is overwhelmed with grief, and he sets his bow aside and he sits down on his chariot. These are the signs of depression, right? When you feel confused and you just don't know what to do, the limbs are quivering, the mouth is drying up. Arjuna's whole body was trembling, his hair was standing on the end from his hands, feeling weak, and the Gandiva bow was slipping. His skin was kind of burning, his legs were unable to stand, and so he had to just sit down. He forgot himself, and his mind was reeling due to weakness of heart. And he could see that this battle is only going to be a cause of misfortune. So these are the symptoms, and this happens to many of us when we are lost and we don't know exactly what to do. And so this message is not for Arjuna, it's for all of us as well. And here we can see that actually Arjuna, fighting this battle is very, very much, he's on the right. Why? Because in the scriptures, it is clearly given that any of these 6 kind of aggressors can be killed. The scriptures say that death can be the punishment for anyone who does any one of these 6 things. And if you have read the Mahabharata, you will know that the Kauravas, they have tried to put these Pandavas in a house of bats and tried to set fire and kill them. They have, they have tried to attack them with deadly weapons. They have tried to plunder. Of course, they have taken the whole kingdom and not giving it. They have plundered all the riches, and they have occupied the Pandavas' land, and they also disrobed Draupadi in front of everybody in the in the open assembly. So all 6 of these were done by the Kauravas, and so they deserve very much to be killed. There is nothing wrong. The scriptures say that anyone who does these, any one of these deserve to be killed. The Kauravas did all 6 kinds of aggression on the Pandavas, and hence killing the Kauravas would give no sinful reaction. And then we can see in this particular verse 36, Arjuna refers to Krishna as Madhava, as husband of goddess of fortune. The word Madhava means. And Arjuna calling Krishna as Madhava. Actually, in this, when we look at every word of these verses, we can find out deep meaning. So here in this particular verse, we can see the deep meaning. How Arjuna is calling Krishna as Madhava, trying to say that Krishna should not engage Arjuna in the battle, because that would ultimately bring misfortune. And Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, because he's a husband of goddess of fortune. So, these words are very important. We have just a little glimpse of that. And then in some of these verses also, we see how Arjuna speaks about degradation of society. And actually today's society, the present society, all of these are happening. Superiors are killed. There's a destruction of dynasty, destruction of eternal family tradition. Vedic rituals will stop. It's all stopped already. Irreligion is there in the family. Women become polluted and unchaste. When the battle happens and men are killed, then it becomes, the women get polluted. Unwanted progeny or Varna Sankara will happen, and all kinds of different family welfare activities get devastated, and there is chaos because of the war. And the qualities of Arjuna, why is he in Sattvagun? He's very soft-hearted. He does not want to kill, even for does not want to kill. Even for the exchange for 3 worlds, he's ready to forgive any aggressor. At that point of time, he's feeling so compassionate, and he considers evil consequences and the risks of fighting. He considers obligations to protect family traditions. He's ready to be killed unarmed and yet not retaliate. And the custom, according to custom, the Kshatriya's fighting principles are unarmed people should not be attacked. So, and these symptoms are all due to soft-heartedness resulting from being a great devotee. So he puts his bow down. What is the conclusion of this whole chapter 1? We can see how Arjuna, because of being in Sattvagun, and he is very kind and soft-hearted, and that is one of the reasons why he is fit to receive. When he surrenders himself and he says, I'm undecided, I don't know what to do. And we should all come to this mood of surrender when we want to listen to Krishna giving the knowledge about who we really are, what is the purpose of life, what is karma, what is prakriti. And we should be in that mood of listening with full attention, like how Arjuna was. That is how Arjuna was fit to receive this transcendental knowledge, which we will be listening from tomorrow. It's 10 exactly, and I think I've just ended. So we have seen, this is a summary of chapter 1, and we have seen how in this chapter, Duryodhana is giving an explanation of the two armies, both the sides. In answer to Dhritarashtra's inquiry, Kim Akurvata, we saw Duryodhana's fear. We saw how the blowing of conches, shook the hearts of the Kauravas. We saw Arjuna's observation and the results of how his, the bodily reactions. We saw the different, 6 kind of aggressors and why the Kauravas deserve to be killed. And we understood Arjuna's reasons not to fight. So this chapter 1 is just laying a foundation about how the Gita came to be spoken. So when was the Bhagavad Gita spoken? It was spoken initially 5,000 years ago in the battlefield. And the main topics that we'll be studying are Jiva, Prakriti, Karma, Kala, and Ishvara. And how are these topics related? We will understand that in the chapters. And these slides are mostly originally done by Namasha Das Prabhu. And there are, a lot of other sources from which the slides have been taken. I'm grateful to all those who have helped in preparing these beautiful slides. Let me do the closing prayer, and then I'll quickly take questions if there are any. Vancha kalpatarubhya shakrapa sindhu evata evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, everybody. Anybody has any questions, or is there some question in the chat, or something which anybody would like to introduce yourself and didn't do that yesterday? Ria says, I can relate to compassion and sin, which leads to indecision. My material beauties often contribute to spiritual. Yes, exactly. So then we'll get a very clear picture of what when Krishna explains. Bharati Mataji says, when a person self-oriented, point 1 and 3 matters, but when person is caring about those around, point 5. Yeah, that's nice understanding. Attendance link has been put. I request everybody to kindly fill in the attendance link, and there'll be quiz links which will be shared in the group. Ria has raised your hand. Ria, can I hear from you? Please unmute and ask your question or state whatever you would like to. Ria, you may unmute. If you can't unmute, okay. 1 minute. I just allow everyone to unmute. Mataji, can you allow her to unmute? It's in unmute mode only, dear. Okay, I'll ask you to unmute. Can you unmute now?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can unmute. Am I audible?
Yes, tell me, Ria.
So I have a question. Will these PPTs be on WhatsApp?
I didn't hear your question. WhatsApp, what about it?
These PowerPoint presentations, where can we find them?
Yes, the PDF of the PowerPoint presentations will be shared on WhatsApp, and also the class, the YouTube link will be shared by Chitra Mataji and Radha Mataji in the WhatsApp group. So you could, look at the YouTube wherever you would like to see, and plus the PDF of these PowerPoints will be shared in WhatsApp.
Okay, then. And also, is it necessary to learn verses of the Bhagavad Gita?
It isn't necessary at all to learn the Bhagavad Gita verses, but as you keep on understanding the Gita, you will be lured to start learning some of the verses which you will find interesting, and that's how I started learning. And you just would like to keep thinking about those verses, and when you keep saying those lines and you know the meaning of every word, it's a very beautiful emotion. You can go through your whole day chanting those verses which you would like, and be in a transcendental mode because of that. You keep yourself away from the material stress and struggles just by keeping the verse in your head. So that way, it's nice to have learn up, some of the verses which interest you, but it's not at all necessary. You just need to understand the idea behind what the Gita is trying to tell us. Now we just come to the introduction. Tomorrow we'll start looking at the philosophy behind it. So yes, it's up to you. It's not at all necessary to learn the verses. In fact, this class I'm not teaching any verses at all. It's totally about the philosophy. and the flow of thoughts between Arjuna and Krishna. Anybody else would like to ask something? Someone else has a raised hand? Okay, Riya only. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll end the class. Tomorrow, I would like everybody to fill the attendance link. And if you have any questions, please, you can share it to me personally also. And I will attend to it tomorrow before the class begins maybe. And so I'm ending the class. Thank you all for being here. And please continue being here. We've just begun and everything that is exciting and, beautiful is just coming in the upcoming chapters. Thank you so much for being with me. Hare Krishna.